So welcome everybody back here in our Wednesday night study. We're working our way through the book of Proverbs, and I really enjoy this book a lot because you can just read a couple of verses and get so much out of it. Some of the books of the Bible are long stories and you really have to read and figure out what's going on, but you can just read one or two verses and get some good practical wisdom that you can go help you with your life tomorrow. So we're in chapter 8, and the last chapter, the last chapter was really about the curses of following after evil, which was symbolized by the wayward woman, the harlot, who has all these tempting words and nice things, which is just symbolic of, Satan doesn't come to tempt you with a pitchfork and two horns. He comes in the form of everything you ever wanted and speaks sweet nothings into your ear, and then it ends up not going well. So this is all about learning to discern wisdom. And so chapter 8 is a contrast to 7. It's saying, okay, you've gone after the wayward woman. You've done all these things you shouldn't do. You've built your house on the sand. It's fallen down now. Now we're going to go hear about wisdom crying out. And we're going to start to learn about how to build that foundation of wisdom, and we'll see all the symbols that are revealed in chapter 8 here. So, and then along the way, I'll kind of give you some tips about ways you can study, how you can look up other verses as I'm explaining these things, so you can go and do this for yourself as well. So verse 1 says, does not wisdom cry out, and understanding lift up her voice? She takes her stand on the top of the high hill, beside the way where the paths meet. She cries out at the gates, at the entry of the city, at the entrance of the doors. To you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. So the scriptures are always here. Like the Spirit of God is coming into his people now, but at first we don't hear the wisdom. We don't listen to it. It's like little kids. They don't listen to you when you tell them things at first. They naturally are rebellious, and we're the same way. We naturally go after the lust of the eyes, the lust of the flesh, the pride of life, impatience, hasty, what feels good in the short term. That's just how we're built, and you can't help it. It's just, you are what you are. So like we covered last week, you can't avoid going after all those things and falling into it and having it be a mess. It's just part of living by God's plan. And then he starts to bring the wisdom, and you start hearing the wisdom cry out, and you start going, oh, there it is. But you don't realize it until after you've fallen and everything's falling apart. To you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. O you simple ones, understand prudence, and you fools, be of an understanding heart. So the truth is, this is a gospel. Gospel just means good news for the weak. It's for those who have messed up and realize they're foolish and realize that we are not prudent. Because when things are going really well for you, you think you're pretty smart and you got it all figured out, and you don't seek wisdom. You don't know that you need the Lord, right? When you're prospering, you think everything's fine. You trust in your flesh and your carnal ways, and it's just still building your house upon the sand, but it's just not time yet for that to be revealed. Listen, for I will speak of excellent things, and from the opening of my lips will come right things. From my mouth will speak truth. Wickedness is an abomination to my lips. So for those of you who can see the screen, I'll give you an example here of, for the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks. So a little tip here is, I oftentimes can't remember where a verse is. And Christ never quoted chapter and verse, ever. He just said, it is written, or he would say, it's in Isaiah, as Isaiah says. So don't feel bad if you don't know chapter and verse. If you can just get the paraphrase from what I say in the study, you can just go Google it and you'll pull it right up. So Luke 6:45 says, a good man out of the good treasures of his heart brings forth good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil. For out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So what do we have at first? Do we have an evil heart or do we have a good heart? There's another verse that says the heart is deceitfully wicked. I think it's in Jeremiah 17. Yeah, there it is, Jeremiah 17:9. And it says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So that's what we all start with. We all start off with this wicked heart, but you don't know it's wicked at first. You think it's fine. You're just enjoying your pleasures and going about your ways, what you think is wise. But as the folly starts to manifest, as things start to not go well, as the judgment starts to come, you start realizing what's coming out of your mouth is not good, and then you start realizing your heart is not good. And that's what makes you see that we're in need of help. We're in need of the Lord coming in and changing what we are. So let's go back to Proverbs 8. So as you can see, the scriptures are here a little, there a little. Everything we read in Proverbs, it connects to all the other books. They all talk about the same things with just different words. And that's why I'm bouncing from Jeremiah to Matthew to Proverbs. But it's all connected because it's all the same wisdom spoken from the same one God. He's just doing it in all these different ways. Listen, for I will speak excellent things, and from the opening of my lips will come right things. So when the good heart is put in us and our heart starts to be changed, now the good things start to come out of the lips. But that's not the first step, right? The first step is all the evil comes out. For my mouth will speak truth. Wickedness is abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteousness. Nothing crooked or perverse is in them. Now, James talks about who can tame the tongue. This is James 3:8. And it says, for the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. The tongue is so set among our members, it's a little member, right? Your tongue is so small. Your mouth is this little thing, but it defiles the whole body, and it sets on fire the course of nature, and it's set on fire by hell. Well, that just means the grave, the place of death. It's your hard carnal heart is what is fueling this, what's coming out of the mouth. So the problem is not what we say, it's what we believe in our hearts and minds, and that's what causes us to say those things. But no man can tame the tongue. For every kind of beast of bird or reptile or creature of the sea is tamed and has been tamed by mankind. And we can go dominate the beasts of the field, we can go do all this, but no man can tame the tongue. It's an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. Right, so for a while, we can appear to be okay. We can have a clean outside of the cup. Our life isn't a total disaster. But pay attention to what comes out of the mouth. And it'll tell you what's in the heart. Right? And nobody's different. It's not like some people were born better than others. It's just that some men's sins are open beforehand and others come after. So no one's any better or worse. It's just how does yours manifest? Some people have more of a quiet rebellion. Some people it's really overt and in your face. Doesn't matter. Everyone's sinned. Everyone's in the same position until God comes and brings the new heart and starts to deal with us. For Proverbs 8:9, they are all plain to him who understands, and those who find and right to those who find knowledge. So once you understand wisdom and knowledge, it's just plain as day. It's so obvious once you've been through a bad experience and you've learned your lessons, you can look back and go, wow, yeah, I saw that, should have seen that coming, but you don't. And the scriptures tell us as well in 1 Corinthians chapter 2 that the natural man, which is the old heart, the old mind, does not receive the things of the Spirit of God, for their foolishness to him. Right? We don't naturally love wisdom. You don't naturally want to go out and do it the right way. We want to do it the way we want to do it. Nor can he know them because they are spiritually discerned. So until God comes and grants us his Spirit and starts to make changes, nothing's going to be different, right? You're just trapped in this cycle. And you stay in that period of rebellion for a while, going in circles, so that we realize what's in our heart. We realize we really do need help because we're very difficult to convince. We don't figure it out very quickly. Back to Proverbs 8 over here. It says, receive my instruction and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things one may desire cannot compare with her. Right? Our natural desire is to value things that are physical, right? I mean, you value money or riches or pleasure or all that. But at the end of the day, the only thing that's really valuable is wisdom. And I really see this being in the financial business. There's people with lots of money, and they come into lots of problems. They can't pay enough to find a wise person to fix their problems. And you can't buy wisdom. Like, wisdom comes through experience and trials and failing and getting up again and seeking wisdom for year upon year upon year. And that's how you build it up like treasure within you, so that when the storm comes, you know what to do. God's granted you the control of your tongue. He's given you the control of your body so you can be a blessing to others in their trial. You got money, you can disappear. I mean, we've seen currencies collapse and countries collapse and gold is confiscated. And I mean, like the scripture says, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head, which just means that there's nothing in this physical world that's going to last forever you can trust in. But if you store up treasures in heaven within your hearts and minds, then you have something that no matter what comes, you can deal with it. You have faith in the Lord, you've got wisdom, and you can navigate whatever comes at us. So we have to learn to value wisdom above physical things, and then you start to orient your life in such a way that you can pursue those things and invest in them. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence and find out knowledge and discretion. So we need to be patient. We need to be diligent. You have to dig deep. You have to look beyond the surface. That's what prudence is all about. It's just having discretion to wait, to look into things, to not be driven by your emotions. And all those things are things of the flesh that naturally drive us around. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, and arrogance in the evil way, and the perverse mouth I hate. Well, we don't naturally hate evil at first. We can hate the obvious evil. Like, obviously, you hate it if someone, hurts your family or steals your things. It's easy to hate that when it's others doing it. What's hard to hate is the evil within us, the pride, the arrogance, the selfishness, the impatience, the impulsiveness, right? That we actually relish it, right? And we seek after it. And we have to learn to hate the perverse mouth. Well, the perverse mouth isn't always speaking curse words and foul things. That certainly is that too, but it's anything that's not wisdom. So evil can come in the form of the flattering woman in Proverbs 7. It can come in the form of nicely dressed with your big nice watch and the nice car and telling you everything you want to hear, right? Or it can just be smooth, persuasive words. And we're told that evil comes in as a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? It looks like a lamb, but it speaks like a dragon. And so that's why Christ tells us the way you discern a false prophet is by their fruits. It's easy to clean up the outside of the cup and talk nice and look nice, but the way you really tell is watch people go through really terrible things. How do they deal with their enemies? How do they deal when they lose what they've been pursuing after? How do they deal when someone slanders them or says something horrible about them that's false, right? And when you see love and patience and kindness and forgiveness and appropriate boldness to speak the truth, now you're seeing the good fruit that you want to say. Whatever they believe and they're doing is obviously working because they made it through a horrible storm and they survived it well. Okay, I want to build my house like that. And if they freak out, outbursts of wrath, anger, impatience, selfishness, whatever they're doing, I don't want to do that because that's not working. And that's how you judge a prophet by their fruits. Don't be fooled by smooth words. That's really easy to do. Counsel is mine and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. By me kings reign and rulers decree justice. By me princes rule and nobles and judges of the earth. There's a verse that says, the children of this age are wiser than the children of light. mean, there are things that the kings and rulers of this world understand and do well. I mean, they plan. Oftentimes they're patient. They think far ahead, right? They can look beyond the surface and understand motives and what's going on. Granted, they're still not godly. They're still selfish and carnal, but there is an appearance of wisdom, and there is some worldly wisdom in that. And we have to not only learn to be wise in the things of the world, but also in the things of the Spirit. And so the true manifestation of princes and rulers is God's people learning to be like him so that we can deal with situations as Christ did. How he loved his enemies, how he spoke the truth in boldness, how he was willing to lay down his life for his friends. But that's what he was pursuing because the Spirit of God was within him. I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently will find me. Like, wisdom just doesn't come knock on your door and come and sit down and give you all its riches, right? You have to seek it. You've got to go after it. You have to be willing to give up things that are taking that time away from pursuing that. And when we seek it diligently, then we will find it. Well, why are we seeking it diligently? Because the Lord gave us that motivation to, right? He's inspiring us to do that. And there's a verse in Revelation that says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. Anyone that opens, I'll come in and I'll dine with him." So the Lord will send us opportunities of wisdom knocking on our door. And when it comes, open the door and invite him in. It's going to help, But if you close the door and walk away from it, then, it's not going to go well. But we all do that at first, right? Everyone closes the door. Everyone says, "Leave me alone. I'll do it my way." And when everything starts to fall apart, then we're like, yeah, that wisdom thing sounds kind of good right now. What I'm doing isn't working so good. Riches and honor are with me, enduring riches and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, yes, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. So when it says my fruit, what is it talking about? Well, it's talking about the fruit of the Spirit. And this is listed out in Galatians chapter 5. And I'm going to read verse 16 to 26 because I want you to see the comparison between when your house is built on the sand, meaning you're trusting in the things of the world, and you're going after that wayward woman, all the temporary gratification, it manifests the lust of the flesh. And it says, "I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the lust of the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things you wish." So there's this season where you start to learn what the things of the Spirit are, but there's this big war in your mind, and you want to do it, but you don't want to do it, and you're going back and forth, and it's a big war. And that has to be there for a season. You can't skip it, but it will pass if you're diligent to press through it, and the Lord will drag us through that. Because it's his diligence in us. It's not ours. Anything we have is his. But if you are led by the Spirit, you are not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are, and all these have a physical meaning first, and then there's a deeper meaning behind it I'll explain. Adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambition, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, which is to hate your brethren, drunkenness, revelries, and the like, of which I tell you beforehand, just as I also told you in time past, that those who practice such things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Well, no one has the kingdom of God at first. Everyone's in that state, right? No one's any different. It's just a matter of how it manifests. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law. I mean, who doesn't want those things, right? And that's what mankind is seeking after: peace and love and joy, contentment. But the only way to get to that is we have to die to our old ways and pursue wisdom above all else, which is impossible. I mean, only God can drag us to that through all these different experiences and trials. So that is the fruit that dwells with wisdom that we want. And if we pursue the wisdom, then the fruit will come with it. But fruit trees, if you don't know this, some fruit trees take 2 to 5 years to bear fruit. And it's not like you plant the tree and there's the fruit, right? So you have to be, God has to give us a willingness to pursue these things and to have some initial pain at first. You got to dig up the ground, you got to buy the tree, you got to plant it, you got to water it, you got to wait for it. But eventually it comes up, and once it comes up, the thing bears fruit every year, over, and you don't do much to it, right? You prune it a little, keep the bugs off, and it just keeps producing fruit, and you can go plant another tree and another tree. So as you gather this wisdom into your life, it's like you have this big orchard bearing all this fruit, but it's in your heart and your mind. You can't see it in people, right? It's not obvious when you walk up and meet them how big their orchard of fruit is. But as you watch their life over time, you're like, man, they did well with this, and they dealt with that person, and they weren't angry, and they got a fruit tree in there, right? And that's what we want, is to plant that and grow it over time. My fruit is better than gold, yes, than fine gold, and my revenue than choice silver. I traverse the way of righteousness in the midst of the paths of justice, that I may cause those who love me to inherit wealth, that I may fill their treasuries. Is he talking about getting a lot of money? And what he's saying is, store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moth and rust do not destroy and thieves do not break in and steal. Now, when you're wise, you're going to be wise in all matters. You will be good with your money. You'll be able to save it. You'll be good at your job. So wisdom does produce a certain degree of prosperity, but it also has restraint, so that you want neither riches nor poverty, right? Seeking after too much riches is a disaster, just as much as being lazy is in falling into poverty. I mean, scriptures tell us if you don't provide for your own family, you're worse than an unbeliever. So there's plenty of commands about being diligent at your work and being good at it. But there's also warnings against just chasing riches for the sake of riches. That's vanity, and it's not going to, they're called the deceitfulness of riches because they don't give you what they promise. They promise you all these great things, but you just end up getting the works of the flesh. You don't get any of that peace and joy and stuff you want. So there's no dollar amount that is set on neither riches nor poverty. It's a mindset, and then whatever abilities and skills God has given you, when you use them appropriately, will manifest sometimes more than you need, and you have something to share, and sometimes it's just enough. And whatever God gives you, that's our lot in life. The Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I have been established from everlasting, from the beginning, before there was ever an earth. Where there was no depths, I was brought forth. Where there were no fountains with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills, I was brought forth. So God has always been. He's the only thing that's ever existed forever, right? And he created Christ, and he put all of his wisdom and all of his spirit into Christ, through whom he did all things. So the way that we get this wisdom is the Lord sends Christ to dwell in our hearts and minds, and he brings with him the mind of God. He brings with him those treasures, but they don't come all at once. They come little by little by little as you seek after them as treasure, and you give up things in your life to go after it. While as yet he had not made the earth or the fields or the primal dust of the world, when he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he assigned to the sea its limit, so that the waters would not transgress his command, when he marked out the foundations of the earth, there I was beside him as a master craftsman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. So just as God used Christ to create all the physical world, so if you ever doubt that God knows what he's doing, if we should listen to him or not, he built this place. Like it's his. And he gave us an manual and said, let me tell you how my creation I built works. And if you do these things, this will work out. And if you don't do them, it's going to be a disaster. So it's good to read the instruction manual, know what to do. But he also is in our hearts and minds creating this new creation within us. He's dwelling in there. He's putting away the old. He's creating the new little by little, right? One day at a time, one page at a time. And every day is necessary, even the evil days and even the hard days and even all the mistakes. Like, you can't change what's in your book. So whatever is in your book, the Lord wrote it. You have to give an account for it. You got to say, yes, I did that, and that was not good, right? but I got to move forward now, and the Lord's going to give me the power to overcome this. And there's a lot of freedom in that, realizing that you can't help what you are. You just are what you are. You just pray for God to change you. And that's how you can forgive yourself and others, is that it wasn't you doing it. It was sin dwelling in you that you didn't ask for. You're just born with it, right? And God's going to bring us out of it. We still have to give an account for it. We're going to have to reap what we sow, but he put us in it. He's going to bring us out of it. That's the plan. Rejoicing in his inhabited world, and my delight was with the sons of men. Now therefore, listen to me, my children, for blessed are those who keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and do not disdain it. Anything the scripture tells us not to do, it's because we're going to do it. Right? So if he says don't disdain my ways, it's because what do kids do? They disdain their parents' ways. They fight against everything. They rebel against it. They live on candy and soda all day long if you'd let them, right? But they'd be sick and miserable. So eventually, they start to listen, and it goes well for them. Blessed is the man who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my doors. For whoever finds me finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But he who sins against me wrongs his own soul, and those who hate me love death. Well, what is death? Romans tells us the death is to be carnally minded, meaning you think like a beast. You're a slave to all these lustful things of the world, or impatient, selfish, hasty. I mean, go down the list. And when we do those things, it wrongs our own soul. The word soul just means your life. I mean, it's the deceitfulness of riches. You think these things are going to give you this pleasure and these promises, but they end up being a total disaster. Whereas when God causes us to listen to the wisdom, hear his instructions, and build the right foundation, then things go well. Right outside my apartment, they're building this apartment complex. They've been digging for like 4 months. There's like a 35-foot hole through solid rock the whole way. And I've watched them every day jackhammer layer after layer. How easy would it have been to walk out there, just scrape off that parking lot and build the building? They'd be probably done by now. But they're wise, and they know we're going to dig 35 feet down in the rock, but then we're going to pour concrete columns down below the bottom of that. Then we're going to concrete everything outside, and this thing's going to stand for however many years. And wisdom's the same way. If you want a strong foundation in your life, you got to go dig down and get all the junk out. And you're going to be hammering through rock. And it's going to be hard, and it's going to hurt, and you're going to cry tears, and you're going to be sad. But then once you get that house built, it's a good house, and you can have people dwell in it with you, and it's safe in the storms, and it works. So all these things that are written will happen. It's just a matter of when. And the Lord is working it out in his timing, and we're just giving an account of where we are and what he's showing to us. So none of us get any credit. It's him doing it. And we're just unprofitable servants saying, here's what the Lord has shown us. Let's walk in his way, because I've done it the other way and it didn't work out so good. So that's the end of Proverbs chapter 8. We'll pick up on Proverbs chapter 9 next week. And the first verse of chapter 9 is, wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. So it's the perfect transition into, we're building a house in wisdom that we can dwell in for our lives and have safety and security there in the house of the Lord. So that is the end of Proverbs chapter 8. If anybody wants to ask any questions or say anything, feel free to raise your hand over here.
Thank you, Mitch.
Welcome. They'll raise some hands here in a second.
Ledger was trying to get us to crack.
He was trying hard. Welcome, Sue. See, you came in over here. Got a quiet bunch tonight. Usually. Here's Billy. Hey, Billy.
Hey, I just wanted to say it was a great study, and that
all that applies to my life right now. Everything you said, I can testify that that's what's going on with me and my life, and was, is, and will be is all going on. And I just want to say how much of a blessing it is to get the understanding in my life at this time, which has been long awaiting. And I just I thank you for it.
Well, we're really happy to have you here, Bill. It's really great.
And just again, a great study, man. I really appreciate it, Mitch.
You're very welcome. Looking forward to seeing you in December, Bill.
Yes, looking forward to seeing you guys too.
Anybody else? All right. Oh, there's Sandra and Lee. Go ahead, Sandra, and then Lee.
Hi, Mitch. Can you just tell me where it says right here, 8:34? Can you explain that to me? Where it's watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my door.
Yeah, so the gates are the gates to the city, and there's multiple verses that talks about judgments that are in the gates, and that the wise men of the city would sit at the gates to judge. And so this is talking about us being at the gates of the Lord in wisdom, sitting there where righteous judgment has taken place. So when we're watching at wisdom's gates, we're there ready to execute righteous judgment on our own selves first, as the Lord gives it to us, as that wisdom grows in us, and then dispensing that to others in due time.
Thank you, Mitch.
Welcome. Lee?
Hey, Mitch, I wanted to thank you for the study, even though I didn't hear any of it. So I'll have to listen to it later because I was cooking and there was some chaos going on, but appreciate it. And definitely post it so I can go over it.
Yeah, I'll go post it as soon as I can, Lee.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go down and start unmuting folks, and y'all can say hello to everybody.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Very good.
Good to have you, Brian. Appreciate it. Well, thank you all for coming. It was nice to have you all.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you, Mitch.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thank
Hi,
you.
Jonathan.
Thanks, Mitch.
Sir.
Thanks, Mitch.
See y'all next week.
We'll talk sooner, though.
Yeah, I'll get back with you, Brian. I'll be around tomorrow night. We can chat.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
Good thing. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Night.
Good night. Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Love everybody. Good night.
Night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye bye.